broad array of Michigan-based companies, including many minority and women-owned businesses. DTE Energy. MiVote Mackinac is brought to you by Health Alliance Plan, the Masco Corporation Foundation, DTE Energy Foundation, the University of Michigan Dearborn, and by the Center for Michigan.
Welcome to MiVote Mackinac. I'm Christy McDonald. We are coming to you tonight from the parlor of the Grand Hotel, the site of the Detroit Regional Chamber's 2012 Mackinac Policy Conference. Hundreds of business leaders and politicians all meet here each year to talk about the future of Michigan. And while it is an annual tradition, the discussion this year takes on new urgency. The magnificent Grand Hotel becomes the hub for business leaders and politicians from across the state this week as they size up Michigan's future, tackle problems, and hash out solutions. This year, the Detroit Regional Chamber's annual Mackinac Policy Conference focuses on collaboration, innovation, and global positioning.
One of the things that I think people will see this year is a level of entrepreneurial spirit and new energy. We're trying to be much more inclusive in terms of all ages of people who can really contribute to our solution.
And solutions are needed now. This year's conference finds Michigan in the midst of a slow recovery, on track with a budget surplus, the Big Three turning a profit, more investment in downtown Detroit. The unemployment rate has dropped, but it's still higher than the national average. Cities are dealing with population loss, and Detroit is in the midst of a massive financial crisis and management overhaul. The conference agenda aims at starting the conversation. Among the speakers, the New York Times' Thomas Friedman, talking about Michigan's role in America's economic transformation. Also CNN's Fareed Zakaria on global competition. There will be panels on entrepreneurship, featuring some of the most creative CEOs in Michigan. Another will focus on moving urban areas forward, plus a concentration on healthcare and community investment.
It's almost like the state's town hall session or the state's management seminar, where we talk about serious issues with the right people in the room.
Business talk often turns to policy, and politics are never far at Mackinac. Amidst budget negotiations in Lansing, Governor Rick Snyder will kick off the conference. It's an election year, so U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow will be there, as will her Republican challengers. The Big Four from southeastern Michigan transforms into the Fab Five at Mackinac with the addition of the chairman of the Washtenaw Board of Commissioners. So, for 3 days, the biggest decision makers in the state will be under one roof, with the challenge to listen, learn, and carve out Michigan's path for the next year. And joining me now is Governor Rick Snyder. Governor, thanks so much for being with us.
It's great to be with you.
What a kickoff. You really got the crowd going there.
Well, it's a great opportunity. The way I viewed it, and I made it very clear in the talk, that I don't want this to be a nice event. This is an action event. It did a great job last year, but let's keep that up. If anything, I've made the point that it should be an accelerator.
So you're not satisfied. You should accelerate. So how would you assess your progress, and what do you want to do now in this next year?
Yeah, well, it's not about me, because again, it's not about credit. But we have made great progress in Michigan. We're the comeback state in the United States. And you can look at the metrics, unemployment, a lot of good things going on, but it's not good enough. We still can do a much better job, and we still have people that need a job. We need to think about our kids' future. So it's continuing what we're doing, but to do it in a relentless positive action way, where we're working together.
You speak the language here. This is a businessmen's conference. A lot of business leaders, CEOs, politicians, but you really speak to them on a level that they want to hear in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. Do you think that that is going to be the next wave that's going to bring Michigan forward?
Well, clearly it's an important element of it, because we've got so many great things going on in innovation. We have some of the best research universities in the country. We have companies that are doing tremendous research and development. We've got a great startup community. And it's really how you blend all those things and cause collaboration to happen between the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, the public sector. And that's why the themes of the conference are so good. They're right on. Innovation, collaboration, 21st century global marketplace.
One thing that we talked about last year was the bridge across Canada. A year later, there's no bridge. What do you plan to do about that, and what is your next run on that?
Well, we continue to have dialogue and working on the bridge, and we are making progress. So I hope to say we make progress sometime this year on moving forward with the bridge, because it's a great opportunity. It's all about jobs, international trade jobs, long-term opportunities for our state, and what a great opportunity where Canada would advance the funds, be repaid out of tolls, no credit liabilities to Michigan taxpayers. It would be a wonderful opportunity.
Let's talk a little bit about Detroit and the financial crisis that's happening in the city right now. Are you concerned about the legal challenge to the financial stability agreement?
Well, I have some concern. It's just disappointing in some ways because it's distracting from the need to get the financial stability in Detroit. The way I view it is we have a valid agreement. We signed an agreement in good faith. I believe the city did too. We're operating as if the agreement's valid, and I hope the city follows through and does the same thing from their side, because we need to address these issues. There is a financial crisis out there, and Detroit citizens deserve better services.
Do you have faith in the leadership that they're going to be able to follow through on the agreement that they did sign?
Well, I clearly encourage them to follow through, and we've got an agreement. Let's get it done, because the citizens of Detroit deserve better.
They're going to run out of money by the end of June. Is there still a possibility for an emergency manager in Detroit?
Well, again, I don't want to speculate on options, but as a practical matter, there is a crisis, just as you said. They're going to run out of funds, and to make it work, we need to be working together.
Let's talk a little bit about the budget process. We know the legislators are working hard in Lansing right now, and people have talked about K-12 education. What are your plans to make sure that schools maybe get a little bit more of the funds that they were looking for, that they said they were missing last year?
Yeah, well, I think we are adding significant dollars to the education community, and I think it's good. I want to continue on that path. But what I would say, it's not just about spending money for education, it's about better results for the kids, about student growth we need to get to. So we do have some elements that I think are important. There are additional dollars going into the foundation allowance. There's additional dollars going to help pre-fund long-term liabilities, which is important. And then there's also best practice and performance dollars to really recognize and reward good things going on in our schools and our educational system, because it's, again, we only have 17% college ready. That's a terrible answer. We need to do better.
What about higher education? There has been a push to try to get more public funding for the public universities in Michigan.
Yeah, again, we put more resources in the budget. Now it's more working through what formulas to really follow up to make sure there's measurability, there's dashboards and scorecards, there's transparency, and we're showing results in terms of more people getting degrees, because that's the outcome that really matters. Not just having someone take a class, but completing their work, and most importantly, getting connected to a career, a job.
In this last year and a half, how easy has it been for you to sell Michigan to other places around the country and to other businesses to come here? Is it getting easier?
Oh, absolutely getting easier. Well, at first, I didn't actually do much outside of Michigan, because my view is politicians talk too much. And
oh, no, never.
Yeah, well, they do. They talk too much, and the point is given our history, we shouldn't just go out and talk about what we're doing. My view is let's go get a bunch done. A bunch of really important reforms done, which we have done. So now when I'm going out to talk about Michigan, I'm not going out to say we're going to do this. I can go out and look them in the eye and say this has been done, and compare us to Washington, which is a mess. We're doing a lot of the reforms, the tough things they need to do there. So we're actually a great role model to say, look, use Michigan as a guide.
Let me ask for your gut check. Has this job been everything that you thought it would be? And what are the things that were unexpected?
Yeah, no, it's everything I thought it would be, because it's a chance to help people. I mean, if you think about it, it's an honor to be governor of Michigan and an opportunity to help people. Because it's not about me. I love Michigan. And so I appreciate my family being supportive to say, here's a way to give a number of years of our life to make a better place for all of us. That's how much better can you get than that? So
what are the 3 conversations that you want to have up here at Mackinac?
Well, they're very much the themes of the conference. Innovation, collaboration, and exporting. Those are the real messages. Collaboration is one I'm going to hit very heavily, though, when I talk on Thursday, because it's not about government solving everyone's problems. The role of government isn't to hire everyone. Everyone would be scared if everybody worked for the state of Michigan.
Would be interesting.
Our role is to create an environment where free enterprise can work, where the private sector can do well, where not-for-profits can play an important role. And it really requires us working better together. And all those things are all in place, but I think we can just be a better role model to show the rest of the country how good you can get on that topic. I know you're going to have a lot of conversations over the next couple of days, so I've got to ask you, I guess, the last question, favorite flavor of fudge, because we are on Mackinac Island, and you can't say Mackinac Island without saying fudge. It's tough to have one favorite. Dark chocolate, peanut butter ones, and coconut. Those are 3. And they'll be stashed in your suitcase when you head back off the island? Well, health and wellness. Alice. I got on a bike ride today. I rode around the island already once today.
Yeah, we got to keep you honest. Thank you so much, Governor Rick Snyder, for joining us on MiVote Mackinac. We appreciate it.
It's great to be with you.
Well, and earlier today, entrepreneurship definitely did take a center stage at the conference. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
In the city of Detroit, a couple years ago, there were 0 venture capital firms. Today, there's over a dozen. Folks like Detroit Venture Partners, Renaissance, and others are investing in the local economy and not necessarily in automotive. We're investing in digital startups that have the potential to attract young people to our state and create fast-scaling companies. Here in Michigan, that ratio is way in our favor. So we actually, in fact, have a talent advantage. And whether we're launching a software company or an engineering company, I think taking advantage of the talent base that's here is a really profound way to drive things forward.
And innovation is one of the topics here at the conference. And so joining me at the big table to talk about some of the other headlines that are going to be coming out of the Mackinac Policy Conference this year, the editorial page editors of the Detroit News and the Free Press, Nolan, Finley, Stephen Henderson, and also rounding out the panel here tonight is Nancy Kaffer from Cranes. We appreciate it, Nancy.
Well, it's lovely to be here. Thank you, Christy.
All right, so go ahead, guys. Why don't you go ahead, tell me, what do you think the headlines are going to be coming out? What are people starting really to talk about?
I think you're going to see a lot of initiatives, small to large, aimed at helping Detroit capitalize on this revival that is underway. You're going to see things in the area of education, development, transit, and they're not big, giant, blockbuster announcements, but a lot of little things are going to be rolling out here aimed at helping Detroit capitalize on what's been going on over the last year.
Okay, so do you agree when he says revival in Detroit?
It's revival, but it's also governance, right? Detroit has a private investment problem that goes back years, but it also has a governance problem that the governor is trying to solve, and it's unclear yet whether this consent agreement will actually solve it. I mean, you have a lot of council members second-guessing the fact that they signed this. You have the city's top lawyer now saying that they're going to challenge this agreement in court. I think there's still a lot of things to be sorted out in terms of how you fix the governance of Detroit so that it actually works, it stays within its means, and delivers services.
And Nancy, there's a lot of key people in this conversation, all in this tiny parlor right here. Not so tiny, but it can be. Do you think that we're going to see some news come out in that regard?
I don't see any big stunning revelations coming out, but I think that it's always good to get people in the same room talking. There is this mood that I heard people in the horse carriage on the way up here, in the boat coming across, talking about how they feel like the city has hit a tipping point of some kind, which is really surprising considering a lot of the stuff that's been going on with the consent agreement. A good tipping point where things are starting to move upward, though there's still obviously a lot of problems. There's maybe more business confidence we're seeing.
Or maybe the fact that they're actually addressing the problems within the government, that at least either something's going to happen.
It's unclear whether that's going to...
Not at all.
In print, but not in action. I mean, you've got stalling.
What you're seeing up here is a resignation that we can't wait for the city government to get its act together. There's a bypassing of government, and now you have a lot of initiatives going on that don't involve the government at all. And I think that's an acknowledgement that the government situation is hopeless.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that government exists to translate that private capital and an interest and investment into public good, to figure out how to keep the lights on, to get cops on the streets, to make parks and rec centers and all these things work. If you don't have that piece of it, the private investment will only go so far. It will fix some things. It will not fix everything it should fix.
But then you have folks like when Midtown Inc. does a project, they have to figure into their budget what it's going to cost to keep street lights on, what it's going to cost to have a private company maintain the grounds. When the DDP does the same thing, and some of the bigger projects they're trying to do, they have to factor in some of those same costs. DIY government is not a sustainable situation.
Right. No, but it's no longer an absolute obstacle. People are no longer running up to that and saying, we can't do anything. They're saying, if we have to do it ourselves for a while, we'll do it.
So are the businesses that have decided to invest in Detroit powerful enough to make other businesses want to take the leap? Are there so many businesses on the line and not quite sure if they want to follow the lead of a couple of big corporations that are?
Well, you've got people like Dan Gilbert, who's buying up all the buildings in downtown Detroit that he can possibly get. You've got Whole Foods putting a store in Detroit. You've got people, really serious people, putting a lot of money into the city. Smart people. Dan Gilbert didn't get where he is by making stupid decisions and making bad bets. Whole Foods didn't get where it is by taking crazy risks. Any of the other companies, Blue Cross Blue Shield, there's any of these other companies that are coming in, and those are the obviously the very big companies, generally don't make stupid choices and don't make unresearched choices.
But they are risks still.
Yeah.
I mean, they're calculated risks, but they are risks because if you don't get governance together, if you do not get crime under control, if you do not get basic city services delivered, all of this is going to be present in a very small pocket of the city, and the rest of the city will remain sort of a no man's land.
Nolan, you're shaking your finger at me,
Yeah,
which means something good is coming.
Because there's another theme here involving Detroit, and that is that this group, this business community, they're done with Dave Bing. You can't find anybody up here who says, yeah, he's doing a great job, I'll support him for re-election. Basically, everybody is saying, don't run Dave.
No confidence in Dave Bing?
Well, I think people's patience with him is worn thin, and one of the things that's really tipped it over is his behavior with his consent agreement, indulging this idea that somehow there's a legal question about whether they should have signed it. That was an agreement that he helped forge along with the council. He should be on the state side saying, listen, we have no choice but to do these things. We got to stick to it. Instead, he's playing to a very small audience of people on council saying, well, yeah, let's go ahead and challenge that. And I think that has hurt him with the business community in an irreparable way. And Cindy Paskey, one of the prominent downtown business owners, very involved in the DDP, sent out a note last week saying basically that,
talking
this
about
is
the next
over,
mayor.
right? Who's next? She's not with us anymore.
So is this what's fueling all the speculation already of who's going to be running? I mean, I think we're seeing articles, obviously that have been started about who's next then.
I think the speculation definitely is a sign of a lack of confidence.
Nolan's not running. Go ahead, finish, Nancy.
Well, there was a piece in your paper today that had identified some likely candidates. Lisa Howells says she's running.
I did talk to Gary Brown a little while ago. He says he is not running.
And he probably isn't, but I ran into somebody up here, one of the bigger pocketed people up here, who said he's been actively raising money for Mike Duggan to run for mayor. So, people are already fundraising, and we're a year and a half out.
It's interesting that the policy conference in the last couple of years has opened itself up to say, look, we want to talk about a lot more issues in the outstate Michigan, talking about Grand Rapids and whatnot. It feels like this year it's closed back into Southeast Michigan and Detroit and really concentrating on some of the issues that are happening more in Detroit.
That's really true. I think that's partially due to the governor's diminished role here. I think so far what we're seeing from the governor compared to last year is a fraction of the kind of energy and interest that he had last year. And that's not a criticism of him, but it is saying he used this conference last year as a stage to set a big part of his agenda. That's really not what he's doing so far here today. His speech today was very perfunctory, was not about the kind of big things, the big missing pieces in his agenda, the bridge, Detroit, things like that. Now he's got a speech on Thursday. Maybe that's where he steps it up. But that's the last day of the conference. There's a real switch here in that way, and I think his role is helping to shift the focus away from a big statewide agenda.
What do you think of that, Nancy?
About the governor's role in the conference or the statewide focus? I can't really add much to that.
She's saying Steve is right.
Always.
I think I want to open that door.
The governor's still been all over the place here. He's got to go back to Lansing tomorrow. He's a bit hamstrung by the fact that the legislature can't be here, so he can't be here all the time. He's going back to Lansing, but he is out there. He's already given one speech. He's meeting with people. He said, this is the time, from here on out, I start selling the progress we've made.
Think about why the legislators aren't here. The legislators aren't here because they did not meet the budget deadline that he set
He said June 1st.
But last year, it was done before they got here.
Yeah, but he said June 1st. They'll have it done June 1st.
Shifted too. The session normally ends on Thursday. They would come in Thursday night and be here for Thursday evening and Friday.
I think that's a critical error, and it
well,
again
which could
speaks
be,
to...
and which could be changed next year.
In fact, in speaking with Sandy Baruja, he said that they were going to examine the dates next year and make a decision that made sense for all stakeholders.
All right, I want to take a look. Obviously, we're in a slow recovery. Michigan is in a slow recovery. How are we stacking up in terms of other states, maybe in the Midwest, in terms of competition for businesses and other things? Have we slowly started to rise?
Well, we're actually leading the Midwestern recovery. After being down so long and falling so far, Michigan is pushing ahead a lot faster than its neighbors, a lot faster than most of the rest of the country. Michigan is actually in a better recovery than the rest of the country.
Are we in a good position, Nancy?
Well, there's definitely some information coming out that seems to indicate that Michigan is stacking up better in surveys that rank business competitiveness and climate, but I'm inclined to believe that there's probably some surveys being produced in Indiana or Ohio or Wisconsin that talk about how, I don't think anyone's sitting around going, sweet, we're awesome, we fixed it, we're done, and we don't have to worry. I mean, I think that there's always... you also have to be careful that you don't go too far. You can make an attractive business climate, but if you cut other functions of government too much, you wind up driving business away. If you take too much funding from the school system, K through 12, from university, from infrastructure, businesses don't want to locate in a place with bad roads and uneducated workers.
And that's one of the things, Fareed Zakaria said this afternoon. He talked about the state of the U.S. being one of lack of public investment and huge on public consumption. If you sort of translate that lens to Michigan, we're still upside down on that equation. We still are not investing in the things that we need to invest in, and we're still spending too much money on things that will not pay off in the long run.
So in terms of investing, you want to invest more in education right now and what?
Transit, education, job training, all kinds of things that will get more people to work and get more people to locate here. We've created a business climate where it's at least semi-competitive in terms of tax rates and regulation. There's still some more work to do there, but you still got to make this a place that is producing people who can have those jobs and support those businesses.
Real quick, and the time we have left, Nancy, what should people look for in the next 2 days?
What should people look for in the next 2 days? We've got the usual stuff, innovation, collaboration, focuses on getting people to talk to each other more. It's important stuff. I think it loses some of when it's going on for the same, year after year we're talking about it, it doesn't mean it's not important stuff to get done. So,
okay. Nolan?
Bridge deal.
Bridge deal.
Or at least a plan.
All right, we'll have to wait for that.
We need that.
Because I talked to the governor and he said, well, we're still kind of working, but right now.
We need the governor to step back up to that plate. He struck out once, and he's sort of saying, well, maybe I'll go around them. No, I think you get back in the box, you take another swing at it. Use the leverage of all these business leaders to pressure all those people who've got to run in November to do something.
All right. Well, they're starting to have a little more fun here out in the parlor. But a trip to Mackinac would not be complete without a visit from the crew from Under the Radar. It's a show that we love that airs on Detroit Public TV. So they gave us kind of their unique take on life on Mackinac Island and horses.
Hi everybody, it's me, Tom Dalton, from the PBS television program Under the Radar Michigan, up here at the Mackinac Policy Confrence, doing some hard-hitting investigative reporting for, that's right, you. Now, all the movers and shakers of Michigan are up here at this conference helping to move our state forward. And a lot of people work very hard to make this conference a success every year. But there's one group that works harder than anybody else. So I understand you guys work harder than anybody else at this conference, and you do it for virtually peanuts. Oh, apples. Okay. So what do you guys do when you're off duty? You horse around? Hey, me too. Oh, salmon. So what's your favorite thing about the policy conference? Besides the horse play. So what do you think about what's going on here? It's okay, I speak horse. It's what, it's behind you? That's not very nice. Just one question, please. Please? Oh gosh, darn it. So are important people harder to pull than just regular people? Why? I can't say that on television. If it wasn't for the work you do, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do. What's that? Oh, he told me to get to work. Hey, buddy, don't ask me my political affiliation. I didn't ask you yours. So tell me honestly, where do you get your funding? Me too. Yeah, those horses may work hard, but so am I, bringing you the important matters that matter here at the Policy Conference. Hey, can I get an umbrella for this?
Who knew that horses had so much to say? Our thanks to the guys from Under the Radar, Michigan. And that is going to do it for MiVote Mackinac tonight. We will be here throughout the week, and make sure you check us out at MiVote.org. For all of us at Detroit Public Television, I'm Christy McDonald. Have a great night from Mackinac Island.
What is it about a blue sky? A sunset? This smile? What do these moments all hold in common? There is no fear. No worry. It's a feeling unlike any other. For a moment, we're all okay. And then just like that, it's gone. But we can find our way back, together. Welcome to peace. Welcome to HAP.
University of Michigan Dearborn student Roland Debra didn't realize he'd be working on an engine of the future. He just wanted to move in the right direction. Alumna Elizabeth Artisana didn't know she'd run a highly successful company. She just wanted to succeed. And Professor Sid Bolkowski didn't realize he'd become director of a Holocaust Survivors Archive. He just wanted to share history. Are you ready to be a difference maker? Get started at University of Michigan Dearborn, the degree that makes the difference. To see more, visit MichiganDifferencemakers.com.
Last year, DTE Energy committed to the Pure Michigan Business Connect initiative by pledging to invest an incremental $750 million with Michigan businesses over 5 years. We'd like to announce we are ahead of our stated goals, but the numbers only tell half the story. What's most important is helping strengthen our economy and a broad array of Michigan-based companies, including many minority and women-owned businesses. DTE Energy. The Masco Corporation Foundation believes in improving the quality of life in Michigan. Our support of arts, culture, and the environment is one of the ways we're working to ensure a brighter future for Michigan families. Because when companies and organizations work together, we build a better community for everyone. The Masco family of companies, working to enhance the quality of life for the citizens and businesses of Michigan. The Center for Michigan presents Community Conversations, seeking to engage Michigan residents on policy issues affecting the state. We are currently focusing on the state's K-12 education system and improving student learning. Our goal is to amplify the voices of Michigan residents and press state decision makers to follow participant recommendations on how best to improve students' prospects for future success. To get involved in a community conversation